What if I told you that Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, could become the world's biggest economy? Would you believe me? Just imagine, a nation blessed with a vast array of resources, from oil to agriculture, from solid minerals to a burgeoning tech industry, a country boasting a young, vibrant population, eager to make their mark on the world. A nation strategically positioned as a gateway between the West and East, between the old and the new. This is Nigeria, a country with enormous potential waiting to be tapped. However, despite these tremendous assets, Nigeria has yet to fully realize its economic potential. The question is why? The answer to this conundrum lies not in the lack of resources, nor in the lack of will amongst its people. The answer, my dear listeners, lies in a complex web of corruption and poor governance that has unfortunately become a part of the country's narrative. Corruption, a word that has become synonymous with Nigerian politics, has had a debilitating effect on the nation's economy. It has hindered the efficient utilization of resources, stifled innovation, and created a climate of uncertainty and mistrust. This culture of corruption, perpetuated by a select few, has effectively barred Nigeria from realizing its true economic potential. But corruption is not the only culprit. Poor governance, characterized by a lack of transparency, accountability, and effective leadership, has also played a significant role in Nigeria's economic underperformance. Inefficient policies, poorly implemented reforms, and a general lack of foresight have all contributed to the country's current economic predicament. Yet, despite these challenges, there's a sense of optimism, a belief that Nigeria can overcome these obstacles and finally claim its rightful place as a global economic powerhouse. The question now is, how did Nigeria get here? To answer that, we need to delve into the country's leadership history. Nigeria's journey to its current state is a tale of leaders and their legacies. In 1960, Nigeria gained independence, and with that, a new dawn of leadership began. The first Prime Minister, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, was a symbol of unity, a torchbearer of democracy. He set the groundwork for Nigeria's economic potential, focusing on education and infrastructure. But his reign was cut short by a military coup in 1966. The military era that followed was marked by a series of coups and counter-coups, interspersed with brief periods of civilian rule. This era saw leaders like Yakubu Gowon, Murtala Muhammad, and Olusegun Obasanjo, whose governance styles varied greatly. Gowon, for instance, focused on rebuilding the nation after the Biafra War, while Muhammad was known for his anti-corruption stance. However, it was during this era that the seeds of corruption were sown, and they would later sprout into a full-blown tree. The return to civilian rule in 1999 brought with it hope for economic growth. Leaders like Olusegun Obasanjo, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, and Goodluck Jonathan made strides in sectors such as telecommunications, agriculture, and oil. Yet corruption remained a stumbling block, with each administration battling allegations of graft. In 2015, Muhammadu Buhari, a former military ruler, took the reins with a promise to tackle corruption head-on. His administration has seen significant gains in the fight against corruption, but the problem is far from eradicated. Over the years, Nigeria's leaders have made decisions that have shaped the nation's economy. Some have laid solid foundations for growth, while others have been marred by corruption and poor governance. The effects of these decisions are still felt today, as Nigeria grapples with economic challenges. So you see, Nigeria's current economic situation is a product of years of leadership decisions and corruption. Corruption. The term is almost synonymous with Nigeria's political landscape. But why is it so pervasive? The answer is both complex and multifaceted. Corruption in Nigeria is like a many-headed hydra, showing its ugly face in various forms, from petty bribes to grand-scale looting of public funds. It's a daily reality for many Nigerians who have to grease palms just to get basic services. But the corruption doesn't stop at the micro level. It seeps into the very fabric of the nation's governance, with grand corruption involving vast sums of public funds being siphoned off by those in power. This isn't just a moral issue, it's an economic one too. Every dollar, every naira that goes into the pocket of a corrupt official is a dollar. A naira that is not invested in infrastructure, education, healthcare, or other crucial areas that could drive Nigeria's economic growth. It's money that is not used to build roads, schools, or hospitals. And it's money that is not used to create jobs or improve the lives of the average Nigerian. The impact of corruption on Nigeria's economy is profound. It discourages foreign investments as businesses are wary of operating in a system where the rules can be bent by whoever has the deepest pockets. It hinders development, as funds intended for public projects are often diverted for personal gain. The cost of corruption is not just financial. It erodes public trust, fosters cynicism, and undermines the very principles of democracy and good governance. It creates a vicious cycle where corruption breeds more corruption, and where those who try to play by the rules end up being the losers. But it's not all gloom and doom. There's still a glimmer of hope. Despite the challenges, there are Nigerians who are standing up against corruption, who are working tirelessly to bring about change. The fight against corruption is a difficult one, but it's a fight that must be won for Nigeria to reach its full economic potential. The effects of corruption are far-reaching, but it's not all gloom and doom. There's still a glimmer of hope. Imagine a Nigeria free from the shackles of corruption. What would that look like? In a world where corruption no longer drains Nigeria's resources, we see a nation brimming with potential. A potential that could transform not only the lives of its citizens, but also the global economic landscape. Firstly, let's consider the impact on foreign investments. Investors are often wary of economies marred by corruption, as it creates an unstable and unpredictable business environment. However, in a corruption-free Nigeria, foreign investors would find a market ripe with opportunities. The vast natural resources, the burgeoning middle class, and the youthful entrepreneurial spirit of the population would draw investments from across the globe. This influx of investments would serve as a catalyst for economic growth, fostering innovation and creating jobs. Now imagine the transformation of public services. Without the drain of corruption, more funds would be available for the development of infrastructure, healthcare, and education. Roads and bridges would be built, hospitals and schools would be equipped, and the quality of public services would significantly improve. This would raise the standard of living, granting every Nigerian access to better opportunities and a brighter future. Moreover, an economy free of corruption would allow Nigeria to fully utilize its wealth of natural resources. Currently, the oil and gas sector alone contributes to over a third of Nigeria's gross domestic product. But with improved governance and transparent practices, other sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and technology could flourish, diversifying the economy and making it more resilient. Finally, with corruption significantly reduced, Nigeria could emerge as a global economic powerhouse. With its strategic location, rich resources, and dynamic population, Nigeria has all the ingredients to become a leading economy. It could serve as a beacon of prosperity and progress, not just for Africa, but for the world. This vision of a prosperous Nigeria is not a far-fetched dream. It's a possibility that lies within reach. This is the Nigeria that could be, the Nigeria that should be, and the Nigeria that, with the right steps, will be. The road to a corruption-free Nigeria is long and winding, but with the right steps, it's a journey that can be embarked on. Let's take a moment to imagine a Nigeria where institutions are strong and reliable, where transparency isn't a mere concept, but a fundamental principle, a Nigeria where anti-corruption laws aren't just written but effectively implemented. This vision might seem like a tall order, yet it's the very blueprint for the way forward. The first step is to strengthen institutions. Institutions are like the skeleton of a body, providing the necessary structure and support. When institutions are weak, corruption thrives, undermining the country's growth. Therefore, fortifying these institutions is non-negotiable. This would mean ensuring they are independent, adequately resourced, and protected from political interference. Next, let's talk about promoting transparency. In a society where transactions and processes are open to scrutiny, corruption finds it hard to survive. This requires a commitment to openness in all dealings, public and private, creating an environment where accountability is the norm. Then there are the anti-corruption laws. It's one thing to have these laws in place, it's another to see them actively applied. A robust legal framework that is not just on paper, but in practice, can deter individuals from engaging in corrupt activities. It's about making the cost of corruption unpalatably high. Lastly, we cannot overlook the power of civic participation. Encouraging citizens to take part in governance, to voice their concerns, and to hold their leaders accountable is a crucial part of this journey. After all, the fight against corruption is a collective one. These steps, while not exhaustive, Provide a roadmap to a Nigeria that can fully harness its economic potential. A Nigeria where corruption is the exception, not the rule. Nigeria has the potential to become a global economic powerhouse. The journey may be tough, but the destination is certainly worth it.